cloud. So my apologies. I had to get somebody to come in and fix that. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, finally. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to log in as Denise Walcott. All right. In the first instance, as I was saying before, this username here, this URL will be added as a favorite, and Andrew and team will organize that for you all. You will log in here with your regular username and password that you log into your Windows machine with every day. Okay, so you're going to click here and log in. When you log in, you're going to see your case management platform showing up like this. Okay. Here you will see here that you're logged in as a complaints officer. All right. Here you will have two in-basket menu items, your work in-basket menu items and your cases. In your work in-basket menu items, you'll show all the work that comes up here. Down here, you'll have your role in-basket menu items and your my work. Your role in-basket menu items will be all the items that are assigned to the group as a complaints officers group and not any individual complaints officer. However, when the DFO assigns work to you, it'll go into your my work in basket specifically. So if she assigns the work to Petra or to Shauna or to Nikita or to Denise, it will go into your specific in basket here. As you can see here, you have a number of cases in your in basket, right? And these would have been cases either assigned to you or cases that you're working on. This is a test environment, and this is why we have cases here assigned to you. Okay, so this is your role in basket, and this is my work in basket. Down here, these are all the cases that are assigned to you. And this here is what you call the in-basket menu items. The in-basket menu items, we have the name of the staff, the merchant name, the complainant first and last name, the date created, and a description of the case. If the cases were launched from the portal, it will automatically end up in the DFOs in baskets and will be assigned to you. If you have the case manually, you can then add and launch the case manually. Okay, so I'm going to show you first of all, you can look at the existing cases in here and you can launch cases manually. Before I take you into how to launch cases manually, I'm going to show you the cases that are already resident in your in basket. So you can see this one here says review and access complaint, right? And that if this was launched on the 28th of, well, today, a few minutes ago, all right? Now, can everybody see the screen clearly or does it need to be bigger? Can you see the screen clearly? Right, I just assume that's yes, right? Okay. Okay, so now, as you can see here, this is review and assess the complaint. The first thing you would do when you come on a morning, you would click on your cases in your in basket. Once you click on it, the case is going to open. And this is the view of your case. This would be here, your open cases. Here on the left, this is what you call case property tabs on top here. And you have a number of different tabs. Before I get into that, I'm just going to show you here that the complainant's name is here. The complaint will be the complainant's name, the complainant's last name, the complainant's email address, or whatever information is here on the complainant. And then you will have to populate the rest. This is the complaint details. This is the details on the merchant. This is other case information. And this is a tab under the investigations and case resolution. Okay. Now, this is a case that was already launched and assigned to you. I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to show you how to process this case. But before I do that, I'm going to start off by showing you how to add a new case. Okay, so I'm going to close this here. The case closes but remains in your in-basket. And I'm going to show you, first of all, how to add a new case to the system. So to add a new case to the system, you go to the top here and you see add cases option. Yeah, this is what you call add cases. When you click on this little drop down here, you will see the option only to add consumer matters, right? Because we restrict the option to add competition matters that will only be for the Competition Commission. So when you click on add consumer matters here, you will get this box coming up, this dialog box. And here you will have to put in some minimum particulars. You can put in here the origin of the case, if it was via the portal, call-in, walk-in, mobile app, letter, fax, whatever. So let's call this a call-in, right? Here you'll put in the submission type, if it's a complaint or request for advice. So we're going to call this one a complaint. Here you can put in if the case is retroactive or no. Right? As you can see here, is the case retroactive? Yes. Is the case retroactive? No. If the case is retroactive, you have a totally different process than if the case is not a retroactive case. And I'll show you that. So I'm going to add this as not a retroactive case, but a regular case. Retroactive, no. Right? Here you're going to put in the date of the case, which is today. And you're going to put in any complaint details, right? So let's suppose, okay, so this is training for finance. All right. And then I'm going to add here. Right? Okay, I'm going to add. So now the case will come back into your in basket here, right? Immediately, the case will come back into your in basket so that you can process the case. All right. So you give it 2 seconds and it will come back into your in basket to process the case. Right. So, and how do you view cases by date? You can see here it's going down in chronological order. Right. Good. Now I'm going to add another case. I'm going to add another case, right? And this time I'm going to add a retroactive case, okay? So I'm going to go in, hang on. I'm going to add a retroactive case. Give me a second here. We're going to add the complaints officer, where are we? I'm going to add a retroactive case, right? Here, add consumer matters. And here I'm going to add a retroactive case. So I'm going to put in, let's say it was via letter, right? Case submission type. Case submission type is consumer complaints. Retroactive, yes. Okay, I'm going to put in here the date of the complaint. Let's suppose the complaint was 2020, right? I'm going to put 2020 and I'm going to put July 2020. So the 1st of July 2020, and it was closed on, let's go 2020 again, 2020, and I'm going to put July again, and it will be closed, let's say on the 10th of July, 2020. Yeah, I put in the details, okay, and then I will click add. Yeah. Right. And once I do that, it will go back into the case. Here it is. complete retroactive case. All right. So here the case will come up. And here, it's not going to take you through a workflow. Here you're required to put in all the details on the complainant, right? So the complainant information, da-di-da-di-da. You put in all the details on the merchant. You put in the complaint details here. You could add the complaint documents here. It'll be stored here. And then you hit complete. And the case will be completed with the predefined dates that you have in the system for the start date and the end date. Yeah. Now, I am not going to end this case because I'm not populating it. I'm just going to close here and take you back to the other cases so that you can process, right? Now we're going to go back here. Here it is. This is Denise, right? So Denise, you just added this case here previously, and we had put in the complaint details was training for primary users, all right? Now here, you would be required, once you add the case, right, to populate the case details, which would be the information on the complainant, the information on the merchant, all the details of, and all the details of the case. Yeah, so far so good. So here, you're going to add, put in the complainant's first name. So the complainant's last name, the complaint's email address. Now, I'm not going to put in all these because, you know what to do here, right? Denise, I'm going to assume is between that age. Denise, right? You see you have these drop downs. You put in the parish, right? You put in the home address, et cetera, et cetera. You put in the country, which is going to be Jamaica. There you go. You put in all these particulars here. Now, at this first step, we're not making all these properties mandatory because at this step, you may not know. You may not know all of these properties. You may have to liaise with the liaise with the complainant, liaise with the merchant and stuff for this. So at the future step, we'll make all of these mandatory. But at this step, you put in the particulars that you are aware of, okay? I put in the merchant here, the merchant name. Let's call this Digicel, and then you can put in the parish, yeah, and you put in all the details, and then you can put in complaint details here, right? The category, if you do, right, and et cetera, et cetera. You can expand on this. Here you can upload if the complainant sent in the receipt. Let's suppose you got the receipt, or you got a warranty document, or you got the letter that was sent to the merchant as to the complaint or whatever, right? Here you would put in, let's say the invoice or the receipt, like the receipt here. Let's suppose you put in the receipt and you add the receipt. And here you will submit the matter to the DFO, right? This is the officer who is adding the matter. So submit the matter to the DFO. You're now submitting the matter to the DFO. Now the DFO is going to go in and assign the officer. So I'm not teaching you how to do this. I'm just showing you what your superior would be doing. So she would go in and assign all cases that come to her, right? So this is the one you can see clearly here, right? And she's going to assign the officer. So we're going to say that she's going to assign this to Denise, right? This is what she's going to do. She's going to select Denise from a list, and she's just going to click on it, and she's clearly assigned to Denise. Yeah. And then she can make a comment to Denise or not, right? But if she's not, she's just going to assign the officer. And she continues. So now the case will be assigned to Denise. Denise now, and maybe the complaints, the DFO may assign a number of cases to Denise, right? So here, Denise would go in and see all the cases assigned to her. So this is the same one here, the same one with Digicel, and the complaint's name is Denise, right? The complainant's name. So here, Denise is going to go in, and she's going to process all the cases that would have been submitted to her. So here, at this step, Denise, you will, and of course, I shouldn't be speaking only to Denise, to all the primary technical users, all the complaints officers. What you would do when cases are assigned to you, let me close this out, is you would go in here, you would look at your in basket, you would see the menu items in your in basket. Here's a bird's eye view into all the items in your in basket. Here you will see what you're required to do. You can see the merchant name. You can see the complainant's first and last name. You can see the date the case was created. And here's a little description on the matter, right? So you can come in here, and this is in reverse chronological order, okay? So you can come in here. And here's where you would see all the details on the case. If this case was launched from the portal, all these details will be automatically populated because it's mandatory for them to populate all these copies. So this one here, if you look at one here, hold on. If you look at this one here, this case was launched from the portal. And because this case was launched from the portal, you can see here that all the properties are automatically populated on the case, right? There's their complaint details, the merchant, all the details on the merchant, and all the details on the complaint. So this, once it's submitted by the portal, everything will be automatically populated. It'll automatically go to the DFO who would, as you saw, assign the officer. So let's look at this one. This was submitted by the portal. Most of this stuff is automatically in here. You may want to add here the complainant's country. Here you can put in, that wasn't populated. You can put in here if it was Jamaica. Anything missing, if you got the complainant's mobile phone, you can put in right, complainant, if there's a fax number, and you know what to do here. Complainant's gender, you can put it in here. Whatever details you put in here, okay? So you have the details on the complaint, any additional details of product and service here. You can put in the product and service if it's a product or service, if there's a subcategory, or if you have to change a category. So if the complainant put in a category that was not correct, you can come in and change a category here and say, well, this is really cable and services, is not hardware. You can put in a brand type if there's a type, if there's a subcategory for cable services, which is here. So I put in cable services, automatically there's a subcategory, and you can put in here whatever subcategory you have, which is, let's say, internet services, and you update this accordingly. You would go to the merchant here, see the details on the merchant. There's a branch, you can put in the branch. Right, sorry. Right, the parish. If there's a city associated with it, you can put in the city. If there's a fax number, et cetera, et cetera. Now here, what you can do now is that you're processing this complaint, and here you have all the case properties that you populate. Yeah, so everybody understands how simple it is to update case properties, right? And how to add cases retroactive and new. Okay, as you go through this, I'm gonna process this case, and I'm just going to show you how to reclassify this case. So let's suppose this case was really and truly request for advice. After you're working and how you said, you know what, this is not a complaint at all. This is a request for advice. So you can switch it here from a complaint to request for advice and go ahead and process it as a request for advice. But we're leaving this as a complaint. So you get request for advice under the case information tab, right? So first we look at the complainant tab, the complaint tab, the complaint detail, the merchant tab, and this is where you have the case information. In the case information here, you could expand on the case details. So whatever synopsis you come up with about the case as you progress through the case. And here you will determine as you go through if there was a breach or no breach, right? So you go through here, you'll put in there's a breach or no breach. Here you can put in if the merchant accepts the breach or not. Yeah, you can put in here, let's suppose, yes, I'm going to change this back, all right? And if there was any redress offered, you can put if there was any redress offered, and you scroll down, was there a settlement reached? So all the properties that you use, it's put in here, and you have drop downs the same. This is basically information, all right? And here in the case investigation tab is when you're about to resolve the case and you're ready to close off and put all the details in. Here you'll move into the investigation mode, in the case resolution mode, and then you put in any final statements here, which would be if the fault of the breach, if it's who is the fault of the breach, the fault of the breach, right? If the consumer has accepted, right? Nature of settlement, if the case is actionable, if there was formal mediation and mediation is successful or not, if there's formal mediation, the breach section, so yes, there's breach section, as well as the resolution type. So here you put in the resolution type, right? Which is resolution type. I had a quick question though, and it's this quick question here. Is the nature of settlement and resolution type, are these synonymous, or is there a distinction between nature of settlement and resolution type? Anybody?
Sorry, yeah. So any complaints officer can answer, Richard? Anybody?
Yes, I believe it's the same thing. The
No.
nature of
No,
the-
not quite, not quite, not quite. Sorry about that. The nature of the settlement and the resolution type, the nature of the settlement is simply just that. It could be a dollar value refund. It could be, you know, an exchange of an item or so forth. That's a little bit different. The nature of the settlement versus what's the other thing?
The resolution type.
Right. The resolution type simply details whether or not it is a refund or replacement or repair.
Okay, so
The type
I
of
see.
resolution says it is linked, it is interconnected, but it's not quite the same thing. It's nuanced.
No
So the
problem.
resolution type is nuanced, because it might be a refund. The actual resolution that is given to you might not fall into those prescribed categories. It might just be in the interest of good customer service. The person decided they're tired of you, so they're going to give you something. Technically, it's not really a refund. It is not really compensation, you know, in the strictest sense, but it might just be, you know, something. And you have to find a way to distinguish between that, simply meaning that you can't put down erroneous information. The vendor did not offer you a refund because the vendor has not accepted liability. What they did was to say, okay, I can't be bothered with this bad publicity, you know, take this item or take this cash. So there has to be a way to distinguish between the two. So it's linked, but it is nuanced. Am I making myself clear?
Very clear. So is it that then, let's suppose there's that situation, should we add here other? Because it doesn't fall neatly under any of these categories here.
Yes, yes,
Should we
that
put
would be
other?
helpful.
Okay, perfect.
That would be
put other.
helpful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Other,
Yeah.
right? So we can add other, and then at that stage, we can then put in the nature of settlement and put in the nature of settlement here.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what that will enable us to do is to capture all of the interaction and the transactions between vendor and complainant.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay.
Fantastic. So it is working like that to some extent, except we just didn't have the other. So we will
Yes.
add other here to distinguish it from the resolution type existing.
Yeah, yeah.
And once it's other, we have a different nature of settlement, so to speak, right?
Right, right. I'll give you another example. You go to a hotel, you are not satisfied with the service, but really and truly, that's very subjective. The hotel has done all they can, and they say, you know, something, we're not refunding you, but we want to give you an extra night, you know, or we want to, you know, give you a gift basket to
Yeah.
you know, you say good things about us. There has to be a way to capture that.
Fantastic. Okay,
Oh.
okay, excellent.
Great.
So we will have the facility and the flexibility to do that. What we just will add is other down here, resolution type other, and we'll be able to, so we can capture both. Okay, so this is fantastic. Okay, so thank you very much for that elucidation. So we would also have resolution status. In other words, if it's closed.
Question, please.
No.
Or a comment. Mrs. Tracy, I'm not seeing right now as it is, I'm seeing refund amount, settlement amount, and write-off amount. Are we doing away with the heading compensation? We used to have refund compensation as the headings there. So are we doing away with that heading?
No.
No, not at all.
We are open to your. We are open right now to your pointing out where we need to you know, update it. Yeah,
No,
if
we can't. We
so tell
can't do
us.
without. We can't do away with that heading, Elena. We have to have compensation.
No, 100%. So let's hear. So we're in. So tell me, we have refund amount, but it ought to be refund compensation amount, compensation refund amount, or compensation
No,
amount.
refund amount / compensation.
Fantastic. Okay. Refund amount / compensation.
Well, Mrs. Tracy, that would not.
Yes.
Say
I
that
thought
again.
It would make
Say that
sense to
again. I
have
didn't hear
them
you,
fixed.
Denise.
I was saying that would not distinguish refund and compensation in the report. It would just lump it
Right.
together as one figure. If
Right.
it is
What I'm
refund / compensation.
No,
So we should have
to separate
refund
the
as
two
a
as one category
compensation.
and compensation as another.
And then we could keep the write-offs, or I don't know what other headings we could use, but we don't have to have refund, compensation as two separate.
One. Yeah.
And refund one, and then I see settlement amount and write-off. I'm not sure if we'll keep them as they are now labeled or whatever.
So tell you what. So what let's edit. Let's correct this right here. Here we have this, right? As let me move that as a pin. Oh, what am I doing? Give me a second. Yeah. Okay, here we have, let me just maximize the screen here a bit. Okay, great. So here we have these properties. Tell me what you would like for us to change. In terms of here, it's called payments. Here we have resolution type, which would be the full resolution type, right? Here we have nature of settlement. So let me go into the investigations tab so we can see clearly. We have the breach, if it's breach, the breach fault, right? The breach section, hold on, let me just go back and put in breach, right? Give me a second. You're giving me trouble, okay. So let's go in here and we have, the merchant accepts the breach if the redress is offered. So here, I'm not sure if you all want to, there might be more categories here too. Redress offered, it may not nicely fall under refund, exchange, or repair. It might be different, all right? Settlement reached here, this is, let's say yes, and go down to the last page, okay, fine. Now I'm gonna go over into the next tab, and here you're going to have breach fault. Let's say it was the, yeah, we will fix this here, right? Breach section, we'll put in the section. We'll put in the section here. And we will put in the, there's no mediation, consumer accepted, rejected, unable to reach. Nature of settlement, we discussed that already. And then down here, we will speak to all of these, right? So from this perspective down here, we have receipt number, payment method, right? Then we have Yeah, payment resolution type, resolution status. Payment currency, amount paid, payment amount requests, amount refunded, requested, amount refunded, write-off amount, and settlement amount. So either that we maintain this, or you can tell us what corrections need to be made.
We have to add a category. We have to add a category separate from refund that says compensation.
Right.
So that would be a type of resolution, but it's not a refund. So you have
Right.
to have a category that says just compensation, and that
Correct.
compensation can take many forms.
So here we'll have redress offered, and here we can put compensation.
Yeah, as a
Yeah.
separate category. So when a report is to be had as to all the complaints that were settled, it would take into account the refunds, and it would take into account the compensation figures, and those would be total under, you know, the value of the redress.
Oh, I see. You mean there could be. So look at this, what we have redress offered here. We have refund, exchange, repair. So you're saying redress offered could be both a refund and as well compensation.
Yes.
So we should have redress offered here, refund, and then we should have a separate category for compensation.
Yes.
Good, okay. Redress and then plus compensation. The compensation is optional because there may or may not be additional compensation.
That's correct.
Okay, good. All right. So we will add another section for compensations. If I go here, let's see if there's any, what we have for compensation. We have over here, is actionable. We will add compensation here, and then we have receipt number, we have payment method. So is it that we could have payment for the redress and these same here for compensation? So we can have this payment here, the payment, the redress amount, as well as the compensation amount, or are both of them tallied together and put in here? Because let's suppose you have a refund. Let's suppose you have a refund, and this is the details on the refund, but there may also be additional details on compensation. So this could be the redress payment here, and then we should have a separate compensation category where whatever we might have payment method as well and payment amount, or
Sure.
whatever the redress is.
Sure.
I see. Okay. Compensation. And in terms of compensation, should we, so let's suppose there are two types of redress going on. One, a refund, and two, a compensation. So the refund or the redress or the exchange is clear. In terms of the compensation, and the compensation could either be a monetary value or other, like you said earlier, in terms of nature of settlement, the compensation might be, I'll give you another night. Is that correct? I'd stay at the hotel.
Yes.
Okay, and if they say, I'll give you another night stay, or I will give you a credit note per se, so you can spend another night, or I'll give you a gift certificate, let's say, then is it that if there's an amount, you will put in the compensation amount, the currency, et cetera here?
Certainly.
All right, okay. So we'll have to put in all the properties. Okay, good. All right, so that was clear. So now we will go back in. And so what we spoke about here, these are case properties. These are case details. And based on this, we can have any type of reporting on the case based on all these criteria here that we put in, okay? So as the complaints officer goes through the case, these tabs would be populated with all the case details, yeah? So everybody understands case properties? Yeah. Now, in moving forward, here, what I'm
Sorry.
going to show you is response
Eleanor?
buttons. To remove from case tabs, case properties, and we're going to go into response buttons. Here, this is what you call the response or the decision buttons, right? As you can see here, you have submit to DFO for feedback, request information from complainant, request information from merchant. You can have here breach identified, no breach identified, close case. And these different response or decision buttons pushes the case into the next step of the process. So say, for example, at this step here, you weren't sure and you needed feedback from your DFO. You can add a letter here. I'm not going to show you this now. I'll show you just now. You can add a letter here and submit it to the DFO for feedback. But if you go ahead and process, everything is fine, you know your job well, you don't need to send anything to the DFO, you can determine, okay, a breach has been identified. You will go into the correct case property here, and you can say breach identified here. Is it this one here, case details? Yeah. You can put in the correct, if the breach is here or not, right? So you put in the breach, and if the breach is breach, yes. And you put in the breach type, and all the stuff will come up, okay? And then you will go breach identified. If however, you want to say there's no breach, you will go in here, put in the proper case properties and go click no breach. Everything is fine. I'm going to populate everything and I'm going to close the case. So here the case will be closed from end to end by the complaints officer. Yeah. If you are in need of liaising with the complainant or the merchant, you can use these decision buttons here. So I'm going to show you how to use these decision buttons by submitting to the DFO for feedback. So let me show you how to do that. You might want to go to the case comments and use the case comments to collaborate. So here you can say, DFO, let me expand this so you can see what I'm writing. Okay. DFO, I need your feedback on this matter. All right, let's just see. You add here, you can see it's stamped 11:55 a.m. Barbados time by D. Walcott. You added that and you submit to DFO for feedback. So you get a little warning saying, have you put in comments before you submit? All right, this is just a validation to make sure you put in the comments. You won't select the response button and go on before you put in the comments. So you say yes. And now the DFO, the Director of Field Operations, she'll come in here, but she will have to log back in, of course, right? All right. And she will see the same case here, review complaint. Yeah. This would be feedback requested. So she will go in here and she would see your comment, which is DFO, I need your feedback on this matter. Just say, well, proceed to investigate matter. Add, see, comes back in here, close, submit feedback. So you can see these are response buttons, right? Have you ensured that you made a comment? So it goes yes. And if you go back as you can see the case came back here to Ms. Walker. She can go in here and she can see, oh, it wasn't this one, sorry. Let me close this one. Denise Walcott. This one? Okay, yeah. I want that one. So let me go back in. It's the wrong case. It's this case here. There you go. And you can see the comments in here. Proceed to investigate matter. And this will be dropping down in chronological order. So you can put back in. Okay, we'll do. We'll proceed. Add. Close. So that is how you use these response buttons. Once you submit, use these response button. The case will leave your in basket, goes to the other party's in basket, and then come back to your basket if it's pushed back to you, right? So this is how you use the case comments to liaise with anybody in the matter. And then you use these response buttons to submit to push the case to the next step. Any questions so far from the complaints officers? Everybody's clear? Yeah. Okay, good. So now I'm going to show you now how to add case properties, right? Sorry, how to add documents to this case and process documents. So you're here now, and you're going to, let's say, prepare a letter for the complainant or prepare a letter for the merchant. So you can go prepare your letter in Word, and once you prepare, you click on here, you just attach the document here, attach letter. All right, let me move this around so I can see what's going on. You choose the file. Let's suppose you say, let's call this letter contract. All right, you add, and it comes up here. This is the letter here. And then you can click request info from complainant or merchant, whomever you want to send a letter. So if you don't want to have to go straight to your email to do this, you can click on the letter here, right click, and send email straight from here. So you can add attachment, you can put in from yourself. So let's see what D Walker, right, at cac.gov, I don't know it, .jm, right? And you send it to, let's suppose it was whoever the complainant is, complainant@gmail.com. You put in the subject here, right? Whatever it is, request for feedback. Request for feedback. All right. There's spell check in here. You can put in the details. You have the letter here that you want to send to them. You just click send, and it goes straight to them from within the case. When it comes back to your email, you can drag it in here. So you can send a letter to anybody straight from here. You have the attachment in here, and you send the email straight from inside of here, okay? Also, if you wanted to preview this document, or let's suppose the document came in from the complainant, right? And the document came in from the complainant because it was submitted by the portal, and you see the document comes in here. So you can see this here. These are the documents, because this case was done via the portal. Let me just expand this if I can, right? These are all the documents that came in. They're stored in the folders down here. All the documents are stored in case folders, right? And here you can see this is what the complainant would have submitted. Here, this is a transcript of everything that was submitted, that they submitted on the portal. So you get a copy, as well as all the case properties being populated automatically. You also get a copy of what was submitted by the complainant of the transcript. So here you can right click. I'm going to show you, and you can preview. And here you can move this to open up your screen, right? Let's move this to open up your screen. And you can see here everything that the complainant would have submitted, right? All the details on what was submitted by the complainant. This is a transaction record of what was submitted from the portal, okay? So you get this, and this should be validated on what's across there on the case properties. So you can preview this document, right? This is from what was submitted by the complainant, or you could right click on this document and you could actually download it. So you can download all of them down here. So you can see all of them. You can highlight all of them and download all of the documents that was submitted. Here, if you left click on it, you can scroll through this document. Here's a navigation bar. you can scroll through and you can see all the documents or all the pages of these documents. And here you can print straight from here. You can say, you know what? I need to print this document. So you just click here and you print. It takes you to your printer and you click print and it's printed straight from here. If you wanted to download and save it straight from here, you can just click here. It downloads and you can save it straight from within the case, right? And you can download all the documents. Yeah. Also, if you had this document, I'm not sure if you understand what document properties are. If you want to see the particulars on this document, you can click on the document properties and see when it was created and who it was created by and the versions and stuff like that. All right. I'm going to close here. And that is these are the document management capabilities of the system. Let me move this to the side. As you can see, you can expand and move this across as needs be. So you can have more room in the case. All right. Also, let's suppose you were doing mediation documents or other documents, right? Let's suppose you were adding some other documents, mediation document. Let me ask you a quick question here. When you're doing mediation, right? Do you prepare a mediation report before or request for mediation? Or let's say during or after, is the report prepared on the mediation process that took place and what was the outcome? Yeah.
Maybe I can take that. For the mediation, usually in the past, there wasn't a document prepared prior to. However, since the Consumer Protection Tribunal has been up and running, there is a formal documentation that goes prior to the mediation, a form that needs to be filled out. After the mediation session, what is usually prepared is a document detailing any agreement reached and the timelines for that agreement to be executed. And that's usually signed by by both parties in the presence of an officer of the commission.
Okay, fantastic. So let's go through that mediation process here as we do the training. All right. So I'm going to go in here and say breach. Yes, is a breach. I'm going to click here and click on the type of breach. So here we have the type of breach is this here. Yeah. We're going to have the section of the breach. And we're going to say it's failure to inform consumer of total repairs when done. All right. And then we're going to go to click on breach identify. All right. So this is going to go back here to the and the complaints officer will have to put in the merchant decision. So here you're going to work with the merchant. You know, breach is identified. Are you going to redress the consumer or what is the position? So you will go and liaise with the merchant and to determine if the merchant accedes or agrees to the redress or not. Okay, so here, once you liaise with the merchant, so there'll be a back and forth, you liaise with the merchant, right? And then you come and you put in if the merchant agrees to the redress or not. Yeah, the merchant accepts breach. This is some of the prerequisites before moving forward. Merchant accepts breach. You'll have to put in no. That's good. We're going to use it, but no. Refund offered. There's nothing yet. Settlement reached. We're going to say no. Settlement not reached. Yeah, and we're going to submit a request for formal mediation. Then submitting a request for formal mediation, here you can upload some mediation documents prior to. This is the documents that you have to fill out. You just spoke to. There's some documents that you're required to fill out. So you can here fill out these mediation documents here. And hold on. Let's see. Give me a second. What's correct? Consumer documentation, mediation documents. The add the mediation documents from your browser or wherever you have it, from your desktop. So mediation documents here, modified by Denise, modified at this time, and you're going to submit to the DFO for formal mediation. Yeah. So this is going to leave your in basket because you're going to sell the DFO. Okay. whatever the case may be, right? Add, close, submit for formal mediation. So the case is going to leave it in basket, formal mediation, right? And then the DFO will come in here. The case is going to show up, formal mediation request here, and she can approve or not. So here, she can review the request for formal mediation. She can click on this document and actually annotate this document if she thinks that this document is needs work on it. So she can annotate this document or download it and review it, or just simply preview this document, right? Or she can say, you know what? I'm not sure if the DFO ever actually does this, but she can make some changes to this document. So she can click here. So I'm showing you how to use the system. She can click here and she can check the document out, make the changes, and then check the document in. And what you will have is that the document will change versions and you can see the changes made by the DFO, okay? So here, she will check back in the document that she worked with, mediation documents here. It would be updated. Let me show you, if you right click on this document and you go to the properties here, you can see that, and you click versions, you can see that there was version changes on this document, all right? Okay, so I'm going to move this around. Let's cancel here. There you go. We just cancel and go back to my screen. Okay, so here, the DFO can approve for mediation or reject mediation, or she can liaise with the complaints officer here again. All right, back and forth, if she's happy or not. Let's say she approves mediation, right? She can go in here and put in mediation approved. Mediation approved, add, yeah, close. And once she clicks here, it will leave her in basket. The case will now be approved to begin formal mediation. Yeah, and we'll go back now to the complaints officer. And the case is here, convene formal mediation. Yeah, so you can see here, the complaints officer will now convene formal mediation. And once the mediation is complete, can put in, add here, the agreements that's signed, because you said there's an agreement that must be signed, right? So here would be agreement. She can put the agreement in here, that's signed, the signed agreement, and put in here whether the breach was accepted or rejected by the merchant. Yeah. If the breach is accepted by the merchant, then you'll proceed to case resolution. If the breach is rejected, then the case will, the results of the mediation will be shown here. It'll go to the DFO to determine if she should send it to legal advice to determine if the case is actionable or not, right? So that's what will, that is what will transpire. And in here, of course, you put breach rejected, you'll be required to go in here and put in the outcome of the mediation, yeah? So the outcome of mediation successful, you'll have to put yes or no. If you try to hit breach rejected, it will tell you, you have to select no, mediation was not successful. So you must populate this and it shows you where you must populate, okay? Because you can't proceed without doing some of these things. And it's very simple. If you click that, this is highlighted for you. So here you put mediation successful, no. And then you have to determine if the case is actionable. So if you say mediation successful, no, and you put in breach rejected. The mediation was unsuccessful. The breach was not accepted by the merchant. Yeah. Okay, so now the case will come back. Once the case will come back and the complainant will now have to put in here would be the mediation outcome. right? If the outcome is unsuccessful. So if the outcome is successful, there'll be one process. If the outcome is unsuccessful, there's another process. So let's put in here the mediation outcome when it's unsuccessful, right? Mediation document. So here it'll be called, or whatever you want to name it if it's unsuccessful, right? And how you want to proceed. Once it's here, you have to submit to the DFO for review. So it'll go to the DFO. And I'm just going to take you to the DFO here, who will then make a determination as to how to proceed. So here the case will come here, mediation outcome unsuccessful review. Here, the DFO can advise the complainant, advise the complaints officer to close the case, because depending on what the outcome is that, you know, there's no potential for redress here, whatever the outcome is, the DFO has the option to advise the complainant to close the case, or she can submit for legal action. So here, she's going to submit for legal action. She can go here and send it to, or the DFO can solicit advice from, say, the CEO or others. So the DFO can say, you know what, I need to have liaison with my CEO on this one, or the chief financial officer, or the research officer, or whatever. The DFO can go in here, select a number of persons and submit for their feedback. Or she can say, let me send it to the legal officer and put in here, let's say Sasha. You can assign it to Sasha and submit for legal advice. If I send this to Sasha, I'll have to log in as Sasha. So I'm not going to log in as Sasha or send this. Okay, but this is how the case moves from step to step. All right. What I believe I showed you all how to add. Another thing I want to show you here before I move on is that you can also add documents to folders. So don't forget, whatever documents that you use in this case should be added to the folders down here. So if you add them here, so that the next person can have easy visibility of the document. But if you're storing these documents, suppose you got documents you want to store, you can store these documents in folders down here. You can add a folder, you can add a new folder, add folder. You can call this folder, if you wanted to call this folder, mediation document. Or you can call this folder tribunal documents. Tribunal document, right? And you can add it here. And all your tribunal documents, you can see it here. Let's scroll down, you see tribunal documents here. Then all the tribunal documents you can add is simply go here, add. You can add documents from the repository if you wanted to actually go and search the entire repository for it, or you can add documents from your system. So you go in here, choose the file, and let's suppose all of these were the documents you're working with. You can highlight them all. You don't have to do them one at a time. You can click open, yeah, add, and all the documents, you can see all of them added in there very quickly into the tribunal documents folder. See, they're all in there, right? Multiple documents at the same time. Yeah, so this is how you work and make sure and add all documents to the case. And the documents that are added to the case has the same functionality here. When you right click on these documents here, you can send the email, you can check the document out, you can print directly from here. So you can click on this and you can print. You can print directly from here too. Well, not on my system, but you can print directly from here. And you can preview the documents here. And you can also see the properties on the documents from here. And these are the document properties where you can see if there's any version control, if there are more versions on this document or less versions on the document. Okay, so I'm going to cancel here. And that is how you add documents and folders to the system. All right. Any questions? Because I'm going to now take you into searching for cases and doing some other general tasks. So any questions?
One question, Elena. The closure of the case, is there, I can't recall seeing it, is there a subsection for cases that are closed as cold?
Yes, excellent question. So now, let me see investigations here, and we're going to have this is case information. Give me a second here. Case resolution. Let's go into case resolution here, and we're going to see how it's closed. Let's see. It's resolution status. Let me go down. Resolution type, resolution status, right? So of course, resolution type, we had discussed this earlier, right? We spoke about that and how we have resolution status. And resolution status here is going to be closed. This will have to be selected. Closed as cold, closed and out of litigation, closed not to pursue, and unable to proceed further. So,
Okay, thank you.
okay, you're welcome. And of course, there will be a resolution case closure comment here where you can expand on the status of the closure. In other words, if you wanted to expound on what determination was made in the process of closing, you can write this up, and this can go quite down. It's quite a bit. All right. This can expand to, you know, over 1,000 words here. So you have the actual status and you can expand on this here. So yeah, this will be done, and this will automatically show up the date closed. And yeah. Yes. And then you can
Great,
see,
thanks.
and as here, you will see the results. As you can see, we went through the whole process of the case, and it goes through the stages automatically. You can see we actually went through formal mediation. So it was not an early resolution. And then we're now at case resolution here. So here we can advise to close the case. So if you were to advise to close the case, it will end. Or if you submitted it for legal review, you'll see the cross here for legal review. And then legal action, and if it goes to litigation, it will go all the way down. But here you can close and out of litigation, and then you will know it's closed in the department. So if we go here, close, for example, and out of litigation, right here, closed, and the out of litigation, you do all your stuff, and so you would submit for legal advice. It will go on, but it will be closed and out of litigation in your department. Yeah. So, any questions apart from that?
Yes, regarding adding advice, will that be demonstrated?
Request for advice?
Right.
Yeah, so at the inception, right, where I would have shown when you were going to add a case. So let me go back to here. So when you're going to add a case, you can have, it's either, when you're adding a case, it's either request for advice or the complaint. So when it's this request for advice, it's this one here. Of course, we went through all the way down to the end. Then at that stage, you can liaise with the requester, send back information. You can send to your DFO. Similarly, you can have the case go back and forth, and then you can resolve and close.
There was a request for the process for adding advice not to be as detailed as adding a complaint. So I was wondering how that form looks.
Okay, so well, I'll explain to you. So good questions. If I go in here, let me discard, right? And I'm going to go in. Okay, so let me just add a case for request for advice. Okay, so let me just add a case here in FEMA matters. And we're going to do very simple, say call in, and it's a request for advice, right? And it's we're just going to put in the date and details. So when we complain, it will be details, request for information on CADS. All right, you add here. Oh. Validation, what did I miss? Retroactive? No. Okay, good. Add. Good. So the case will come back in here. And let's see, request for advice here. Yeah. So this will also go to the DFO. to assign to an officer, right? So submit matter to DFO. The DFO is going to assign this case to an officer. Okay, so let's go to the DFO and let's see the DFO request for advice here. And she's going to assign this to here. To Denise. Right? So she assigns to Denise and assign the officer. Now Denise will go back in and she will see this case come to her. Right? So this here. So this is it here. So Denise will go in here and see that this here is a request for advice, call in. Maybe the DFO made a comment or not. And here, the fields to put in here are not mandatory. The fields put in here are optional. So if you don't, because I believe I was told earlier o'clock that sometimes the request for advice, the requester does not want to state any other information, barely state their name, and they may be reluctant to share anything. They may just want to determine if they have the potential to make a complaint or the justification to make a complaint. And maybe they're requesting this on the behalf of somebody else. So they don't want to be forthcoming as to who they are, all right? So they may be very hesitant on disclosing any details. So we have made that, therefore, these properties would now be non-mandatory once it's a request for advice. Okay, so whatever information you have, you can plug in here. If you don't have any information, you don't. Here, you can submit the information, request more information from the, which you put here, complainant / requester, right? And liaise with them. And then you can go here, you can submit your DFO, or you can just close the case. So you can make this a perfunctory summary type of process where you can just wrap it up, or you can go to your DFO and liaise with the DFO as needs be until you're happy, or if you wanted to liaise with anybody else, and then close the case. So whilst the facility is there to add multiple information, it's also flexible once you select request for advice to wrap up the case summarily. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Good afternoon, morning. Where it says breach identified, could you demonstrate that section if it, I just wanted to find out if it actually requests that you put in the clause and all of that for what has been, which legislation has been breached or not. I just wanted to know.
All right, let me see if I can put it in here. Breach identified, yes. Type of breach, you have to put in the section here. And type of breach, and then the section here, you have to put in the section here. So once you put in breach, yes, then you put in the type of breach and then the section here.
The section of the CPA.
The section of the Act, yes, the Consumer Protection Act. So here, if you this here is this section would be informed by the choice here. The breach section is informed by the section of the Act. So the subsection of the Act is informed by the section, the type of breach. So if you choose type of breach here, and type of breach is the number 11 here, then the options will be different down here, right? So it's 11.1, 11.3. So whatever section is selected up here would inform the subsections down here.
Okay, so where the breach is not the CPA, but another piece of legislation, for example, the Microcredit Act, where would they document that?
Oh, I see. So what we have here is we have the sections and subsections of the CPA only, right? We don't have it where it's not. So we can have here an option, breach, CPA, or other. If it's CPA, we populate here. If it's other, we can populate. Okay? So how many, what authorities?
that important to you? Because I know you deal with cases that are not just breaches of the CPA, so that's why I asked. Mrs. Tracy? Or any member of the complaint team?
Yes, we do look at other breaches from different acts, but for matters that we handle through to litigation, it's only the breach of the CPA that we are, I suppose, entitled to adjudicate these matters. But we do look at other breaches of the Hire Purchase Act, several other regulations that might come up for review, but I wouldn't say we prosecute, we recommend for prosecution. That's what I should say. We recommend for prosecution because only the courts do the prosecution breaches of the Consumer Protection Act.
Elena, this section that talks about breach is only in the section for litigation? Or
No.
is it on complaint?
Yes, so that's a yes, I need to speak to that. So if it is that you prosecute or go out to litigation only under CPA, that's fine. However, here we're just identifying the type of breach. So it could be, like you say, breach of the Hire Purchase Act, and the merchant agrees to redress or not. So it may not be able to go to litigation. You might have to go to other ministries, department, agencies, police, or whatever. However, if the merchant does agree, then you should still have the option to put the authority here, aka the legislation. All right. So what I'm thinking here, we can put CPA or other, and in the other, if you have a drop down, fine. If you don't have a choice, this UK can manually allow you to put it in. And of course, litigation would then could be informed by if it's a CPA or not. So we could put a validation in the system that if it's submitted for legal advice or goes to litigation, once it's CPA, you're informed that it can't proceed further. Or we leave that out to your own discretion so that when it goes to legal advice, the lawyer could say, well, we don't have jurisdiction because it doesn't fall under CPA. So either way, we can put that validation in, or we can leave it for the lawyer. The lawyer will validate, of course. But here, so that was a good comment. What was the name of the young lady who pointed this out in terms of the breach?
Raquel White.
Okay, so Raquel, R-A-Q-L-E-C. Okay, so yes, Raquel. So we can hear, it's your call. You tell us, and I'm not sure if the other lady who spoke was Carol.
Yes, Elena, I think just to piggyback on what Raquel has just said, the point that she identified, I think it'll be a good idea for you to have that part that's where you can make reference to another statute, because the CPA does make reference to us being able to act under some sections. I think it's part 4 of the Electronic Transactions Act. And there are also some sections of the Sale of Goods Act, and as Ms. Tracy had mentioned, the Hire Purchase Act as well. So, and then I know the Microcredit Act, because the CAC has been listed as a body who will accept complaints against microcredit institutions. So I think it would actually be a good idea to add that panel that speaks to other legislation, regulations, etc.
Okay, excellent. So can you send me a list of the other legislation or authorities or regulations that you are aware of? Sales of Goods Act, Microcredit Act, Hire Purchase Act.
I'll do that now. Yes.
And then you can add other. And then we'll also add other if it does not fall under the jurisdiction of any of these.
Yeah, there's a Pesticides Act as well, Sasha.
And I think the Standards Act as well.
They're always contemplating new ways to do new things. So we should leave ourselves a certain level of latitude. But the main one is a CPA, other would encompass those that we know about and those that we'll be advised of in the future.
Right. So to ensure that you have, like you say, the latitude, we will put in the drop down that you have, and then we'll add other. So if you want to type in something that's not there. Yeah.
Thank you.
So do you don't need me to send you the different statutes again? The different
that would be
legislation.
nice. It would be really, it's really clean. It's clean if you would have the existing other, so you know CPA, or it would be Sale of Good Act, Microcredit Act.
So for now, you're saying I should stick to the statutes which are mentioned in the CP as at current.
You can do that as well as any other, because I'm not sure if the Microcredit Act is mentioned
Definitely.
here or not. So whatever
Right,
you
because-
know,
Okay,
yeah, whatever
right.
you know that you can, you have jurisdiction on, you can add, and then we'll put other. It'll be nice and clean.
Okay, so I have another question. If you're
Mhm.
finished with one.
Yes, yes, go ahead.
So in that same section where it says no breach and closed case, I'm aware that sometimes complaint unit has cases that are not necessarily a breach of customer service. The vendor might give some kind of refund or some kind of gesture. If I wanted to know what happens when it goes to no breach, case closed, if it accommodates those kinds of cases that are not necessarily a breach, but a complaint came in and we handled it anyway and got some kind of redress.
Yes, you could have no breach, and so it's technically no breach, but you can still go to the investigation and case resolution tab and put in here what the outcome is. If there is a refund was made or no refund was made, or if, for example, breach fault, you could say both or none. So there was no fault, or both parties had a fault or none. And then you can go in here and put a comment. So you can put in your resolution type, there might be none or other, or there might be a resolution type. Sorry, no breach, but there's a resolution. And here you can put in your comment, which is, you know, there are technically no breach, et cetera, et cetera. Or we can put in breach, no breach, other. You can let us know. Yeah? We're not hearing you.
That's for the complaint team. I just raised the question because I just wanted to know if they would need that. I don't know how it works because it just seemed as if there was no breach, it would go to that tab. And I didn't know what happened at that tab.
Okay.
So if it is taken care of by those amendments, I'm fine. Mrs. Tracy, you have a comment on that?
No, no comment at this time.
Okay. So when you all start using it, and you might notice that there need to be a little bit of tweaks here and there, you can let us know and we will tweak it accordingly. Because as you know, in any circumstance, all the facts of the case may not raise its head as you go along. And then, you know, things might come up a little afterwards. So you know what, we really would like this extra, you know, so we would normally try to execute on those minor changes that would facilitate what you didn't think of at this point in time, because you sometimes only think of it after using it, right? So it's a bit of a catch-22. So we were aware of that. And so if you need to make some adjustments, let us know, all right? So I'm going to move away from here now, and I'm going to show you, right, how to search for cases and how to get an audit trail on cases and stuff like that. All right, so let's get one of the cases that was done today. So let me show you. So for example, you can go to here, cases, and you can look at cases added on, for example, cases added on today's date. So here is the search facility, and this is a simple search facility. You can search on any parameter here, and you can search in any combination of parameters, right? So if you wanted to see cases added on today's date, you just do search and you see the cases that were added on today. And of course, there are quite a number of cases we would have added on And here you will see a summary of each case. If you look at this, here, it'll show up to the right, a summary of the case, there, a summary of the case, et cetera, et cetera. So let's look at the case that we had worked on. And let's check this one here. And we could go and we can look at this case from and look at every single component that transpired on this case. So when you click here, we can see all the details of this case. All right. You click here and you click here and you see everything that transpired on the case. Okay, so give me 1 second. Come up with all your questions. I'll be back in 1 minute, okay? Okay, so I'm back. So as you can see here, this gives you full visibility into the case. When the case was launched, case origination, who did what, case assessment, who did what. So you can click here, you can see what happened. You can see who submitted the case, what time it was submitted. You click here and you see all the details on the case. But this gives you an insight into every single thing that transpired on each case. So if you wanted to look at specific cases, right, you wanted to go here and say, you know what, I know the case number. I know this is the case that was launched today and we were working on it. I wanted to see, for example, this specific case here. You can click on it and you can see if it was processed and what transpired on the case. You click here and it takes you through the entire case as to where its cases are. Now, normally cases are over a period of days. So instead of here, you seeing minutes or hours, everything across here will show you days, okay? Now, if you wanted to search for cases, for example, by any parameter, you want to see cases, let's see, by breach type. You want to see cases by breach category, cases by resolution type, cases by the type of outcome. You know, you can look in here and you can see all the parameters you wanted to draw on a case. Also, if you wanted to go here and look for, say, an advanced search, you want to do an advanced search here, and you want to see, let me hold on, let me just clear this, let's move this from here. Let's give me a second. This always annoys me, but let me move this around here. 2 seconds. All right. Okay, it's here, and I wanted to do, I wanted to search on cases. Let's say added type of cases, let's say it is consumer matters, right? And I want to see all the cases from the 1st of September to today. So this is from and to, and I wanted to see assigned to, say, Denise, right? So I put, all right? And I would just go search all the cases from this and this date that was assigned to Denise. Search, and here you can see all the cases that were assigned to Denise. So quite a lot, right? Because we have been using Denise all the time. If I wanted to see all the cases assigned to, let's see if it was Petra. Let's see if any cases were assigned to Petra. So let's put let's see if any cases were assigned to Petra. And there you go, 4 cases assigned to Petra, right? And if you wanted to see this by, let's go back to Denise, because we've been doing a lot of work with Denise, right? And we wanted to see cases that are in the clay state that are completed. So all the cases completed by Denise in the month of September from the 1st to now, okay? And then you go search and you can see none. They're all still working, none completed. She didn't complete any, they're all still working. And if I go here and I go in terms of working, and I go search, all of these are still in progress, none of them completed, all right? And if I wanted to add by qualified now, by say complaints category, if I wanted to see all in terms of, let's see, furniture, and I search here, none. And let's do another one. Let's see if, let's see cable services. Let's just say search 3, right? And of course, so you can use this here and you can use this to search on any type of ad hoc criteria you want in terms of retrieving it. So those mediation were successful, right? So if we go here and let me remove the cable and service, and I could put, can I put all? Okay, let's leave it like that. And I wanted to put with mediation successful. Where was that? Let's see, mediation successful. Mediation successful, yes. Search, none. All right, that means it didn't go to mediation. Now I can look at all cases of mediation successful. If you wanted to see all cases between certain criteria with mediation unsuccessful or mediation successful, you can put in the parameters here and you can show that. So you can look at it from any dimension you want to look at it from. And if, for example, the merchant accepted responsibility, yes or no, the merchant accepted breach, yes or no, let's just say, and you click search and you can see none with the merchant accepted breach. So here will give you the facility to search on any parameter that you want or not. And we can open this up. If you wanted to see this not by September, or let's say from July 1 to search, let's see, does make a difference in terms of what was assigned to the what? Cable services, yeah. Okay, let's go to cable services here. Let's remove that. Good. And I go back here and I search. So still blank, doesn't matter with or not, because it depends on the parameters you put, right? It may not be, for example, merchant accepts breach or not. If I were to remove this, merchant accepts breach, no. Mediation successful, let's remove that. I remove all of that and I do search again, you can see all of these come back, yeah? So it depends on what, so anybody has a little search that they want to ask that I can search based on these test cases we have here? Any search parameter that you may be accustomed to searching on, for example? If you wanted to retrieve a particular case, if you knew the case number or stuff like that, you can search on that as well. If you wanted to see, let's suppose you wanted to do a search for, let's see, only Digicel, right? That's all. You wanted to see a search for Digicel alone, just Digicel. Doesn't matter anything, right? Doesn't matter if it was Denise Walcott or anything. It was working. Let's see, where do I put Digicel? Case number, case origination. Case complaints category, complaints office. Let's look for merchant. There you go. Let's look for merchant. Merchant. Not seeing where I can plug in the merchant here. So let's go add search criteria. Yeah, I can add the search criteria here and put add it on. Let's see if it's yeah, it's not coming up here. Let's see Digicel. No, it's not coming up. Okay, I'll do a different search. Okay, so but anyway, I'm trying, but I'm sure y'all can help me. Any searches that y'all want?
Yes, search by merchant or search by merchant.
Pardon me?
Search by merchant name.
Yeah, I think I had a little problem with merchant name just now because the merchant name criteria wasn't showing there. So we'll get that configured, but I had a little issue with merchant name. So we'll get that rectified. Yeah, I just tried to search by merchant name, but it wasn't coming up.
Is there, Elena, is there a facility for keyword search? For instance, you might want to search on complaints having to do with say, poisoning, and that might go across more than one categories because it might be filed as one thing because you have to record the complaint as it comes in, which is from the perspective of the complainant. But having, say, tested the item, it might become, it is a contaminant, and you have to record that information. Can you search by that medium? A name search, a keyword search.
Excellent question. I believe we had discussed this in during the requirements, right? We had discussed this during the requirements, and I think we said we would want to put a field for. I think it was you and yourself had said. Let me just be looking for Digicel. Sorry. Yeah. You had said that there may be a criteria that traverses many cases that you wanted to do some research on. And I think you had spoken to that potential poison element, but it could be across multiple industries and stuff like that. And we were trying to find a mechanism or a medium to be able to utilize that to retrieve the information. So we had said we will put in a property called related to, or consequent issues or damage, or something like that. So I think we were going to add a property where you can populate that. So then when you searched on that criteria, you'll be able to retrieve that kind of information across all cases. But I believe that was the mechanism we were going to use.
Thanks, thank you. Mhm.
So what we have to do here is that throughout the development, I think you all are aware, we had to normalize and standardize on certain criteria. And one of the criteria that was discussed was standardizing on a naming convention for complainants, consumer, merchant, vendor, informant, respondent. So what we did was we ensured that from the consumer complaints, we removed all references to respondent and informant because that relates to the competition matters. However, as you can see here, with one of the items, and Andrew mentioned this yesterday, so we're just going to do our due diligence to run through to make sure that any reference to respondent or informant is updated. So here we have, instead of the merchant name, we have respondent name. So we have respondent name here. And if you said, please search on merchant, respondent is synonymous to merchant. We're going to fix this so you have merchant. All right. So respondent here, we put in Digicel, and all the respondents under the name, or merchants under the name of Digicel will show up here. Yeah. So that's where we have respondent name. So we can have complainant name, respondent name, category, industry, product, any criteria like that, and will show up here. All right. Okay, so that is case searching and ad hoc searching, right? Yeah, so I'm going to show you, so if any other questions on this, I'm going to show you now how to click on any case. And we showed this yesterday if you wanted to package this case. So in any case, let me close here and show you. In order to get into that view, right? And let me show you the easy way. In order to get into that view, let me log in as, let's say, one of the complaints officers, right? So I am here as Denise, right? And here you have umpteen cases, right? Here. So for example, this one here. You open this case here, right? And you wanted to get into that visualization view. All you have to do is click the case number. Yeah, you don't have to go to case. How I showed you to do this was go to cases here and look for the cases here. So you want to say maybe cases added on, let's say consumer matters, and you wanted to say added on, sorry, cancel. That's the wrong thing I did. I added a case. So we go cases here, right? So added on or respondent name or whatever, you come here. But if you wanted to, instead of doing that, just go into one of these cases here, and you want to see from that detailed view, right? You click on this, you go on the case number here, and it takes you straight to the visualization mode, right? So that's how you get to here. And then there's the option to create the package, meaning that at the end of the case, normally now what you may do in the paper-based world is you may have a manila folder or big jacket and you print out everything that you worked with in the case and put it in the case for archival purposes. And that defeats the whole purpose of digital transformation, right? That you still rely on paper as to the correct version of the truth in archiving. But in moving to digital transformation age and arena, we don't deal with paper anymore, but you still may want to get all the details from this case and package it so you can share it or copy it or use it for archival purposes or for audit purposes or send it on to the research department so they can review it, etc. Right? So the way to do that would be to go here and just click on create package. And when you create a package, it gives you the option to package whatever components of the case you want to create. Yeah. So if you wanted all the properties to go along with it, you can actually select which properties you wanted to go along in creating this package. Or if you wanted all the properties, you just, all the properties will auto-populate. Or you said, I want all except this, I don't need this, I don't need this, I don't need this, or you know what, launch type manual is not necessary. So you can deselect what you don't want to package. And let's assume you want to package all the case properties. Here, the case documents. Do I want to add all the case documents? So if I was sending this to legal and legal can get a copy to use as a brief, you can see here, these are arrows showing that there are documents in the folders here and documents here. So you can say, yes, I want to package all the ones that have documents. So you just package this one, and then you click next. You can see, okay, additional information. You want to demonstrate the case stages as it went across. You see all the stages as it evolved. You want all the case history, everything. You can have everything, all the comments or not. If you want no comments, it's not necessary because comments are more informal. You can remove the comments. Let's say you do want the comments, you add the comments and you go next. And now you put in the name of this. So this would be training package. Subject is legal brief. Sorry. Right. Author, let's say is Sasha. Can't remember last name. And then you can preview it. You can see, okay, let me preview. Of course, it'll take a little minute because it's going to preview everything in the case, right? So you're creating a PDF package of everything that transpired in the case. So you can see it here, it gives you a preview and it shows you the table of contents that's created. And this is the case number and all the case properties, everything inside of here, you can see it. So this is you have what type of case it is, the case number, who did what, all the relationships, everything, all the documents stored, et cetera, right? And when it was reviewed, by whom, by the date, everything here. When it was initiated, when it started working, and every single thing that was done on this case. So you do create package, and the package is created, and it's automatically stored in the folders in the case, right? It's automatically stored in the folders in the case. So here, it's stored in here, and you can download it, or you can share it with legal, you can share it with whomever, you can store it. And you can also store it, it's also stored in the central repository of where all your documents are stored. So for example, it's stored here, so you have what you call is a central repository where all documents are stored independent of cases as well. And here, you can go here and you can search here. And in here, you can look for all your documents that are stored inside of here. You can do your searches, you can create searches and create new searches, new search if they're existing searches, and you can search across your document repository for every single thing, including the brief we just created. Right? So if I just do this as a little test, and I put legal brief, did I call it legal brief? I'm not sure if I did, and I can do the search here. No, I don't think I called it legal brief. what did I call it? Let's see, I called something else. Research criteria. Okay, let's go search something else. Let's start with legal. There you go. Starts with legal. Search. There you go. Yeah, all these documents were added to, and I can choose the one that I would have used. Modified on. There you go. So it didn't, the one I did didn't start with legal. So here you can see, and you can choose any document here. So you can see this also a full document management system, independent of case management, where every single document is stored and you can search and retrieve them outside of the case. So if you're not added to the case, you're not an actual case worker, you can come to this view here and you can search and retrieve documents. So that, for example, if you're in research, if you're in communications, if you're in a totally different department, and you want to access documents from here, this is where you can go and you can access all documents to the case. And you can also add new documents to the case. And that is, of course, if you have the correct security permissions. And this will be defined by a security schema. And if you have access to the documents, then you will be able to search and retrieve them. But if you don't have access to the documents might be there. And if you don't have the access privileges, you won't be able to access or retrieve them. Okay. So that sort of sums up today. Yeah, that sort of sums up today. So if you have any questions, do let me know. Otherwise, we can wrap up. So we would have sorry.
Anything that we could bring that up?
Yeah, we would have, you would have your feedback form. Please populate it and send it on to Andrew. And if anything else comes up, let us know.
All right, thank you very much. Remember, guys, to provide the feedback.
Okay, Elena, Cheryl Tracy here. I'd like to thank you for this comprehensive session today. It was quite a bit to take in, I'm sure. And what I can say, and I think I can speak on behalf of the team here at the CAC, this will you know, streamline our processes in a fantastic way. Of course, we can't see everything at first blush, and I'm really, you know, thankful for the opportunity to tweak as we go along, because it might, as I said, it might not be, you know, immediately apparent as to all the things that we would like on the system. But what we can say is that the system seems very customizable. And for that, we're grateful. I want to thank you for, you know, spending the time with us this morning into the afternoon. And I look forward to many more of these hand-holding sessions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, everybody. Truly appreciate the feedback, Cheryl. And yes, we are committed to tweaking the flows, the process, and the system to meet your requirements. Because as developers, we do know that once you start using the system, you're going to come back and say, oh, we thought this, but now we know this. So we always go with the 80-20 Pareto principle. You know, 80% and 20% you will need tweaking. So we're committed to doing those tweaks so that, and hopefully within the 3-month hand-holding period, you would have had a handle on it, and we would have completed tweaks during that 3-month period so you can move on. So that's the goal. Yes?
Great. Thanks, Elena. Really appreciate it.
Okay. You're welcome. Oh, quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Very, very quick question. The session this afternoon with the secretaries, I just wanted to know, what do? Do they add cases to the system? Do they format letters? Do they add documents to the system? What is the essence of their work?
I'm not sure of the afternoon session, who would be in that, but I know
the admin staff.
Okay, no, they're not, they don't add any cases to the system at all. Insofar as the executive assistant, she might be required in the absence of, you know, somebody to maybe reassign a case which might come to the CEO's desk, you know, if it didn't pass through the usual portal, but nobody adds cases to the system except the complaint officers, complaint/regional officers. And any adjustments to cases, they also don't make, but there's critical information that they require to view from the system then, but they're not allowed to add.
I see. So they may view information from the system.
exactly.
Okay, I get you.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so we will just focus on them then being able to view and access information rather than action the case.
Absolutely. Nobody is allowed to action the cases other than the case originators.
All right, perfect. Okay. All righty. Okay. Do you have a role apart from searching for documents and stuff for the other directors of the departments? For example, head of research, head of communications. Is there a role that they play on the case apart from searching for and retrieving information from time to time?
No, and for very specific reasons. Other officers within the commission should have access to mine data from the system. I know research conducts regular surveys which might require them retrieving pertinent information, you know, over specific periods. But insofar as I don't want to use the term interfering, but manipulating information, that is prohibited for the simple reason that we want to minimize our risk of exposure, and the case originator and the persons, you know, who are assigned a particular authority would need to ensure that you know, the information as it is put remains, the trajectory on which the case is being investigated remains on a particular path. And so there is no, I'm going to use the term interference. There is no interference from any other side.
Okay, duly noted. And so we just want to understand that. But
yes, they are allowed to view and retrieve information from the system which might aid their work. For instance, I know that the research department from time to time would collect data on the number of complaints and the number of resolutions in order to conduct certain surveys on customer satisfaction, or, you know, how customers view the commission and all of that. So they would have access to view, but not to change.
all right, fantastic. Okay, so any other questions? Don't forget to complete the form and send to Andrew, but go ahead.
Just for clarity, Eleanor, with regards to persons who walk-ins or persons who call, will the receptionist be the one to assign those to a complaint officer in the system, or will it just be the complaint officer who will do everything from, you know, setting up the case in the system? I'm not sure if I got that clearly, whether the receptionist would, as she would know, she would get a call and just send it to somebody. Will she start the process in the system by assigning it to an officer?
So that's an excellent question, and that would be informed by your DFO. The system can accommodate the receptionist adding the case, and I'll show you. So let me explain. So, but that's an excellent question. Let me explain. Do I have the screen shared still or no?
No, got it.
Okay, I got shared, right? Let me show you how this will work here. So let's suppose we are here. Let me just go to and pretend I'm the receptionist here, right? I'm the receptionist. I have the option where I can add a consumer matter. So the receptionist will be able to add these other cases here to the system. Say there's a walk-in or call-in. Let's say it's a walk-in, like you said. Let's do a walk-in here, right? And case submission type is consumer, retroactive, no. Date, so it's very simple. She doesn't have to spend any time. She can put in the details or not, because she doesn't have the details. She can say, I don't have the details, I can add the case. Well, she adds the case here. So let's suppose she adds 10 cases, right? She adds 10 cases and she has the documents in paper. So she can either scan it in or not, right? Let's suppose that's not her job. So it's up to you how you want to work, right? So she can put it in or not, or she can, whoever scans it, she can add this here. But when she adds this, this will go straight to the complaints office, right? When she adds this here, it goes straight to the complaints office. Okay, so she adds the case here, right? So the receptionist, she adds the case here. Let's see, it comes back. Come back to her here. All right, let's see, it's, give me a second. It's 8, so give me a second. Second to last one, there you go. Once she adds the case here, so if it is that the receptionist is adding the case, she can add the case, she can upload the documents, scan and upload the documents. If she has it, she does not have to put in all these details, and she can submit the matter to the DFO. So it is possible for the receptionist to add the case. However, if it is your policy, according to the DFO or whoever makes the rules and regulations, that only the complaints officer can add cases, then this would be removed from the receptionist. So this is just based on your rules. So depending on what the rules you have in your organization, the system can accommodate or not. So we will leave that out to the jury. And what you can do is, if you want the receptionist to be able to summarily add the cases, which is just put in the brief information, is, for example, currently in most government organizations, you have a logbook. And is the correspondence that comes in, you manually write it down, from whom to whom, subject, whatever, put it in a daily mail folder, put the stuff in the mail and walk it to the department head, who will then look at each page, each correspondence that comes in or complaint, and put a folio number on it, or put a folio minute on it, and then sends it back to the receptionist or to the registry, who will then put it on the relevant file, the paper file, and then disseminate to the right officer. That's how the paper-based world works right now for government departments. So this here can supersede that or replace that, where the receptionist, AKA the registry, can get all the stuff instead of marking it down, you know, with from whom to whom, whatever, can plug it in here. It's automatically disseminated to the DFO, who can then assign the case, and then it is the responsibility of the complaints officer to populate all the information. So it depends on the rules, and I'm sure your DFO, Cheryl, can make the authority on this right now.
I like how you set me up there, Elena. It's duly noted, but I wouldn't make that decision right now. I would take it under advisement. Currently, our receptionist, who is temporary, would simply direct the call that comes in to any available complaint officer, or if it's a walk-in, would similarly direct that person to a complaint officer. Assuming additional duties, I have to take that under advisement, but I will certainly have a look at that, and I'll let you know.
Okay, fantastic. So the system is flexible enough where if no complaint officer is available and the receptionist wants to accommodate and dispatch, she can accommodate, dispatch the complainant, and it automatically routes to the complaint officer, who will then have to proceed to do all the investigative work. So it's entirely up to you how you want to work. It can be put out to the jury until you actually start working and decide how you want it to work. It's simply configurable. So it's out to you. So Denise, did that answer your question?
Yes, you answered my question. I didn't hear Mrs. Tracy's response though. The internet went, but as you said, it's up to
She said I set her up.
how we decide to.
Yeah, I said a little more than that, but that will do for now.
Oh, she said, of course, she will liaise with her colleagues, and you all will come back with an informed decision. All right. So right now we will leave it at that to determine for you all to come back and let us know what's the preferred approach. And any other questions?
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Miss Eleanor. I'll call you that. I am Suzette Grigg. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we are.
I have a question. Maybe you did go through it, I'm not sure. Once you have created a case and put in information, get a chance to, are you hearing me still? Sorry.
Yes. Once you've created a case, put in all the
That
particulars.
if there's any error, do you get a chance to go back before? Because I remember for the previous system, once you put on any information, it's there, you can't change it. So is there a time limit that we get to correct errors? One, two, like one of the things I remember from the previous one, the case at the bottom, the way the system was set up, you had a padlock. If the padlock is open, it means people have access to your case, and that's fine. But if there's access to the case, is there some parameters where, and maybe you did go through it, sorry, that nobody can make adjustments or changes, or, you know, if you get what I'm saying, something along that line. Is it their security? Is, you know, I don't know.
Yes.
Do you understand me?
Yes, of course, we understand you. Okay, so let me move from this role here and go to let's see, Director of Field Operations here. Okay, so you're saying a couple of things where if post generation of the case, if you have the option to make adjustments, right? So here, complaint, you can edit here. You can edit all this information here at any point in time, right?
So there's no time limit as to when you can make changes to the original case. That's what I mean, the information.
Yeah. So for example, for the complainant, the complaint details, the merchant, you can change it at any time. But there's a caveat, however, right? There's a caveat, which is if you go in and you say that there's breach and the type of breach, and you push it on to the next user, then the next user will already have, this is the type of breach and whatever, you're going to proceed like that. So sometimes when you put in actionable activities that transpire, if it is a breach or not, then the case will proceed either in the direction of A or in the direction of B. If it is simply with respect to the complainant details, this can be changed at any point in time. Complaint information, complaint details, the merchant information, even the case information, but some decision information. So if you make a decision as to submit for legal advice or breach or no breach, breach identified, then there is the potential to have a back button. So for in many instances, we have breach identified, it goes to the supervisor, DFO, and DFO is the one who can make the decision here. No, I don't think it's a breach. Go back and do more work. So there are caveats in the system that can address that. That if you make a decision that is not informed by, or is not substantiated, then you can, in some instances, return for corrections, or in some instances, the DFO could make a decision that that contradicts what was initially made. But to answer your question specifically, at any point in time, you can update the information on the complainant, on the details, on the merchant, on the case information, on case investigation. Yes.
And the modification will be noted definitely by the system. So it will show.
All modifications are shown here. Whereas if you go here, any changes made to the system or anybody who goes into the system to make a change,
thank you. Okay.
Right? Extraneous or otherwise, as Ms. Cheryl said earlier, that you want to prevent the possibility of users who don't have secure access to the case. And if they don't, they won't be able to access the case, but they shouldn't be able to come in here and make modifications. But let's just suppose somebody who has authorized access to the case makes modifications that they ought not to, it will show up here with their name stamped on it.
Okay.
So there's no way to get away from that. And to answer your other question, which is if the case is locked. So if I'm in the case here, let me go back and close here. There's a lock here. Sorry, what did I do? Where did it go? Oh, I wasn't here. There was a lock. So now I open it back. So if I'm in here, let me go in here, and I'm in this case, here. Yeah, see, once I'm in the case, other persons come in, they can see the case is being modified and stuff. You'll see.
Oh,
it.
yes, that's what I was looking for.
Right?
Right,
It will
right.
show that they can still access the case and view stuff and whatever, but it will show that it's who it's locked by. If I click on here, right, it'll show who it's locked by, right? Locked by, and this would be, for example, if it was, this is our test user, right? So it does say if you click on this here, it shows it was locked, who is it locked by? Let me just X out of here, but it tells you who it's locked by.
It came up a while ago, didn't
I
it?
know. I gotta hover. They said hover. Yeah, there you go. Locked by DE admin, which is our test user, all right? And to also expand on this, and this is more important in cases, because there are multiple documents in cases, right? You might be editing one document, but another, because there's the option that a case can be worked on by 3 or 4 officers at the same time. So in certain big cases, for example, in competition, you might have 4 or 5 officers working on different components of the case at the same time. This is where the case goes in parallel. Or you might have 3 reviewers and supervisors. So you might want the case to go to the CEO, to the CFO, and the research head at the same time because you want their feedback. And therefore, they can put in their case comments and what the feedback is. So there is what you call parallel approval and sequential approval. And because we're going to have parallel approval, means the case can go to multiple participants at the same time to review. You want to allow that facility in the case. However, this is more poignant when you're working on a specific document. So if you're working on a specific document, for example, a mediation document here, you may not want other parties to change that document, because that same one document will be in the case. And this is where you will version the document. So here, if I check this document out to make changes to it here, and I check this out and say download it to work on it, you'll see a little lock on this. So anybody, so I'm working on my document or whatever, and I edit this document, I make my changes, right? Here, anybody who comes in will see that this is checked out by me, and they won't be able to create a new version of it, nor would they be able to check it out and work on it. They can view the last version, but if they come in here, they will see it's checked out. They can't work on it. They have to wait until it's checked in. And if it is they want to work on it, they can quickly see, oh, look, it's checked out by whomever, put in a comment and say, please check in the document because I want to work on it, right? I need some stuff to add, so please check it in. Or if you're not going to check it out and work on it right away, sorry, cancel the checkout. Oh, the annotations.
Right, and I was going to say it would be nice for the creator of the complaint to be flagged when, but yeah, I hear you, Ms. Eleanor.
Yeah, well, normally the author has full access, right? The author has full access, and it's here visible for anybody to come in here. So at any point in time when you come in here, you will see that it's been checked out by this, and then you go in here and you can check it back in, and then the padlock will move.
Okay, thank you.
So any other questions? I think that's saying lunchtime. Anyway, any other questions? Everybody is, I think Cheryl spoke on behalf of everybody and her team has said, but if there are no more questions, please feel free to document any questions that you have, send it to Andrew in a little list so he can share it. And don't forget to fill out your feedback forms, all right?
All right, thanks, Elena.
Okay, most welcome. Okay, thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yes, bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.